Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, based on your time zone. Welcome in Salesforce Apex Hour. My name is Amit, and today we are going to talk about unlocking business value with the Salesforce and the AI. And we have two great speakers, Emily and Nick, with us. So let me hand over them for their introduction and the presentation. Hand over to you.
Hey everyone, great to be back on Apex Hours. Thank you for inviting us. So I'll just introduce myself, Emily Patra. I am the head of Salesforce practice at at Publicis Sapient, and I'm a Salesforce CTA. And today we're going to be talking about AI and unlocking business value with it. And I have Nicholas with me, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Nicholas Vasseur, also known as Nico. I also work for Publicis Sapient in the UK, and I'm the head of pre-sales for the Salesforce EMEA practice. So I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem. I think it's my first time on Apex Hour. So I've been in the Salesforce ecosystems for almost 10 years. I spent most of my time working at Salesforce in professional services, and my career is a little bit unusual. I joined Salesforce as part of Marketing Cloud. Then I moved to Core, where I also did my CTA, and then I wanted to learn a bit more about integration. So I moved to MuleSoft, and this is where I met Emily, who's with me now. So I'm really pleased to be presenting today, and I really hope this session will help you build your first business use case with Salesforce. Our agenda for today. So first, what's all the buzz? I think unless you've been living on another planet, all we talk about at the moment is AI. AI, LLM, ML, Copilot. It's a little bit confusing. So we'll talk a little bit about what these words actually mean. Then we'll move on to 3 use cases. So some practical business use cases with Salesforce and AI, marketing, service, and sales. And we will translate how you can implement these use cases with Salesforce technology. I will briefly talk about data cloud and extensibility, and we'll finish the session with how you can, a 4 steps process on how you can realize value faster. So that sounds good. Let's just get started. Oh, before that, actually, Amit, if you want. Oop.
Thank you.
If you want to, that's fine. So some of the links, I think, Amit, you took at the end as well. I left your links too. So yeah, let's get started. What's all the buzz? Emily?
Great. Yes. So, as Nico said, unless you've been living on another planet, you would have heard about AI by now. And if you've been living in the ecosystem, then you would have seen Salesforce trying to brand and rebrand and kind of find their place with AI over the last 1 year. If you remember, when with the success of ChatGPT from OpenAI, every cloud in Salesforce was renamed to be a GPT cloud. So we had Sales GPT and Service GPT and Marketing GPT. Thankfully, we're over that now. But still, there are a lot of buzzwords. Lot of noise out there. But so we thought before we actually get into what we're going to do or what we can do with AI in Salesforce, some of the key concepts and some of the key terms that you'll see floating around, and probably we will also use in our presentations. So AI, artificial intelligence, is a really broad concept where machines can think and act like humans. And there has been a lot that has been fed into our minds by science fiction movies so far. If you're from my generation, you've grown up watching Terminator, and Skynet is the ultimate AI which takes over humanity and the planet. So thankfully, we are not there in reality with artificial intelligence. However, the idea is that AI should be able to think and act, using certain parameters and a lot of data like humans. We're very far from that stage yet. But that's the broad concept. And then generative AI, which is the key buzzword these days, is actually just a specific type of AI which is used to generate content. Either generate content which is creative, or generate conversational content, like as if you were talking to a human being. But that's just a small subset of the whole AI concept. And then next is machine learning. And machine learning is, again, part of a concept of the artificial intelligence realm. And it is about how computers actually learn, because the whole difference between, if you look at artificial intelligence and the code or the algorithms we've been writing so far, is algorithms have fixed parameters and fixed logic, and hence they cannot cater to every new use case or every new parameter or new data or new situations that arise. And which is a differentiator for AI, is AI should be self-learning, right? And this is where machine learning comes in, where, computers can learn new things without having been explicitly programmed to do so. And then deep learning is a similar concept within machine learning, which is an advanced form of AI that helps computers become really, really good at recognizing complex patterns in data. And this requires a lot of data, and they're able to process huge amounts of data to recognize the patterns and then make predictions based on those patterns. And then comes the generative AI, which is all we talk about these days, which is, again, as I said, it's focusing on creating new content based on existing data. And now you'll hear sometimes when you're in a technical session about LLMs. So what are LLMs? They're large language models. And it is a typical type of artificial intelligence that has been trained on a lot of text data, or a lot of data that sits in a database. So essentially, an LLM is like a smart conversational partner. They have access to loads and loads of data. They have been trained to read that data by continuous exposure, and then they can create human sounding text based on a given prompt. So for example, if you go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT, would what can I do for 3 days if I'm going to Venice next week? It should be able to give you a natural human sounding answer to say, on day 1, you could do this and you could enjoy this, and it would feel more conversational. And that's all driven by an LLM. And then Copilot is another term which is floating around quite a lot, which is all about a conversational interface that uses LLM to support the users with various tasks. And your typical example is ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot, or even Salesforce Copilot that has been launched now with Sales Cloud and Service Cloud. So that's just a little bit of level set on all the buzzwords. And now let's get into the meat of it. So we're now talking about Salesforce because this is Apex Hours, and I know that AI seems to have kind of suddenly burst into our lives over the last couple of years, but actually not. We have been doing AI for a long, long time in the industry, and Salesforce has been doing AI for a long, long time. So Salesforce actually started a foundational research team back in 2014. And if you remember, Salesforce Einstein was released in 2016. And from that time, Salesforce was talking about a form of artificial intelligence in Sales Cloud, which would give you recommendations and could summarize your data and kind of give you insights based on your data. It wasn't as advanced as right now, but it was a form of artificial AI. And I'm not going to go through the whole timeline, but if you look at how that initial Einstein platform has evolved to it's paved a path for conversational insights, for recommendation builder, for Einstein search. Now you have all the GPTs. Now Salesforce has released a Copilot. If you see the evolution, it's actually been there over 10 years. And this is not something new that's been introduced. So with that context, let's get on to how do we use AI in context of our customers. So this is a typical customer life cycle, right? And every business, if they are selling something to the customers, it will start by an awareness of their brand and product with the customers, which is typically your outbound marketing. Then we'll start with the conversion journey in which, you give personalized shopping experiences, or you have follow-up conversations or follow-up communication with the customers. You make recommendations, you personalize the experience, and you kind of base your selling motion on the previous interactions that you've had with the customer. And that's conversion, that's lead management. And then there's the next part, which is engagement. And it's all about the sales cycle. How do you empower your sales rep to engage with the customers? How do you use AI to kind of empower the recommendations, give them the data that they need so that they can sell relevant products and increase average value orders? And the next part, once the prospect is a customer, essentially at that stage, it's all about retention. And retention is all about your customer satisfaction. When you interact with a customer service agent, how does that interaction go? And AI can play a big role in that part, and managing call centers and making customer service agents more efficient and effective. And we'll see use cases for marketing. So, the first two stages of the customer lifecycle, we'll see use cases for sales, and we'll see use cases for customer retention as well. And obviously the next stage is, how do you build loyal customers? Because brand loyalty is not a thing in today's world. People shop around for the best deals. They will not necessarily go back to the brand unless there's a compelling reason. And AI can help create that compelling reason by making the experience personalized, by really knowing your customer, by giving them relevant content, and by making sure that they are brand loyal, and hence that make sure that the organization has growth at the back of it. So let's talk about some of the use cases as we saw in the customer lifecycle. So let's start at the top of the funnel. The top of the funnel is where you have a few leads. You don't know much about them, but you have to market to those leads. So we're going to talk about how you prioritize lead scoring, and then how campaign automations happen. So how does AI fit into this? And this is typically from a product perspective, marketing cloud, data cloud kind of use case, but Nico is going to talk about the architecture after this. But essentially, the use case is all about smart scoring. So you can get tons and tons of people visiting your website, signing up to newsletters. How do you know which one to expend your energy and resources on, to market, to send personalized offers? How do you score a lead based on what you know, observe behaviors, etc.? And there is a lot of data with organizations. The only problem is, how do you make sense of that data? How do you make sense of the petabytes of data that we have within organizations these days? And AI can come in very handy there, because I talked about, if you remember, things like deep learning and large language models, and using those for recommendations and personalized journeys. If using that sort of artificial intelligence with a marketing use case like this can help you to smart score leads. So essentially you can prioritize leads based on the data you have, which have the most likelihood to convert, and AI can tell you that. You could use predictive intelligence and segment those leads and build the audiences for personalized campaigns. AI can automatically adapt the journey for each individual customer, and AI can be used to recommend the next best product, the content, or the offers at the right time. So for example, if I have a pattern of, I tend to buy, I don't know, let's make it up, a gadget, and I tend to buy it around my birthday every year. So I tend to go shop for luxury gadgets around my birthday. So if the organization has that data on me, they can look at a pattern of how I buy, and typically I would see an increased campaign or increased offers or increased marketing content to me around the month of my birthday, because AI has probably predicted that my buying behavior indicates that I tend to spend the most on luxury products around that time. And that's just one of the examples where a marketing use case can work. How do you solve this? Obviously, you collect and unify data from across the web, advertising, marketing, commerce, CRM, and you get a single view of your prospective customer. Then you leverage calculated insights, you use machine learning models, and you kind of produce a propensity to buy score, which will then help you give weightage to your leads and prioritize who to market to and who to target, and then create targeted segments based on product and opportunity stage, and then activate those segments. And how does a business know that AI works? Essentially by measuring there could be a lot more KPIs, but we've just mentioned the three most common ones, which is, are the leads converting? So the leads we are marketing to, how many of those leads converted? Qualified pipeline, how much actually became an opportunity and our weightage and forecast were correct? And then return on ad spending. So how much are the organization spending on marketing and campaigns versus how much business did those ad spends generate? So those are some of the KPIs, and Nico will talk us through the architecture piece.
I think, Emily, you mentioned something very important, when you're saying collect and unify data. Data is obviously really key. You can't talk about AI without talking about data. And I think this is going to be a theme in this presentation. If you have AI, you need data for that. And also, it's not just any data, it is good data. And good data, that means data that is accurate. So the information that you have is correct, data that is complete. So the information is comprehensive, data that is reliable, so you actually know where it comes from, and you don't have different pieces of information that contradict each other. Data that is relevant for your use case as well, and also data that is not stale. I think, for example, if I bought a really nice shirt, but maybe 2 years ago, it's probably too late for the company I bought the shirt from to recommend me a tie for it. But if I bought the shirt yesterday, maybe now is the time to send me an email around buying a really nice tie. So we talk about collecting that data, unifying it. Let me just show you how this actually translates into the Salesforce world. So I'm sure you won't be surprised. That's not really an architecture diagram. It's more of a number of steps, things that moves around, just to show you a bit of the flow. But I'm sure you won't be surprised that Data Cloud is obviously here. And Data Cloud is that system that is going to allow you to build this true 360-degree view of your prospect. You can import data from the different Salesforce clouds using out-of-the-box connector, but also, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, from your lakes data warehouse, and also ingest external data via APIs and SDKs. And within Data Cloud, you actually have a couple of very useful features. So once you've ingested all that data, you've unified it, you've created that customer profile or that prospect profile, you can actually have calculated insight. And what calculated insights are is they are basically metrics on your data. Things like how much money on average is my customer spending, how much money have they spent in their lifetime with us, how many products have they bought. And you can also leverage AI model, so actually machine learning here. So this is where you can actually create that propensity score that Emily was talking about. What is the likelihood for them to buy a product from you? With those insights, this is where you can create relevant segments and activate those segments across ads. So now I know there's some really cool features in Data Cloud, which integrates with Google Ads, Meta Ads, Amazon Ads as well. But these are other products, so I won't talk about them too much. But more importantly, with Marketing Cloud and Marketing Cloud personalization, this is the pure product for sending all those marketing communication. And I think if you look at Marketing Cloud and personalization as well, they come with AI features now that you can start activating. Things like send time, so they call them AI-driven journeys, but actually if you look a little bit more into it, you have things like send time optimization, where Marketing Cloud can predict when it is the best time to send the communication, to send this email or SMS. Things like scoring split, Marketing Cloud can predict how likely a prospect will open an email, or if they actually are likely to unsubscribe for it. Also frequency split, how you spamming the customer too much, or actually now it's the right time to send that email. So there's a number of AI features which are there today, which you can already enable to actually leverage AI and to use on this business use case. And finally, I would mention open time email personalization, which is the content of each email is actually not set as send time. So if the lead opens maybe the email a week later, this is when the content actually will appear and will be created. So it's much more relevant, much more personalized. And you also have AI automated offers, which actually we use AI to give this correct offer to the prospect. And I think, obviously not everyone has Data Cloud today. It's not that complicated to get started, as you can, you have the free pack you can use. But just in case, you can also start with the use case just with Sales Cloud and Marketing Cloud. You have a feature in Sales Cloud called Einstein lead scoring, opportunity scoring, which you can leverage. And then you can have that score within Marketing Cloud. And here you can create your journeys there as well. Obviously, it's not as powerful because it doesn't have all the data that Data Cloud has, but this is a great way, I think, to get started. I'll now move on to the next use case.
Right. Thank you for that. So that was quite interesting, and now we'll move on to the second phase, or rather, this is the last phase of the customer journey, where I have become a prospect. From a prospect, I have become a customer, and after I have become a customer, now I have a need to interact with the organization or the brand for customer service. And this is where AI can be incredibly powerful, because this is where a lot of the organizations have their biggest pain points. Their NPRs or CSATs are not great. The customer experience after buying something from the brand is not great, and that mostly comes down to badly run customer service centers, and they're badly run because they're not enabled by data. And in like what Nico said, without data, none of this will work, right? Garbage in, garbage out. If you have bad data, you can't get good insights. So you have to have good data to get good insights. And without data, AI will not be able to tell you anything creative or new, because AI essentially uses data to analyze the predictions or recommendations. But how can that help a customer service agent essentially? So remember the countless number of times where you've tried to call an organization and you can't call them because you have to go through a chatbot first, or you have to go through a voice recognition system first. And the chatbot first asks you a lot of questions. And then you define your problem and you're like, okay, this is not working for me. And the chatbot doesn't have an answer for you. And they are like, okay, we'll pass you on to the customer service agent. Now, by the time that has happened, you've probably lost a good 10, 15 minutes or even more sometimes. And by the time you get to the customer service agent asks you the same questions again, asks you to define your problem statement again, and have no context of who you are. So essentially, it's causing a lot of frustration with you as a customer interacting with that brand, because you're losing time and probably not very happy at the customer service agent even before you've started the actual meat of the conversation. Now, this is where AI can incredibly help with omni-channel kind of summarization, taking the data, giving your insight to the service agent before they start talking to you. So imagine a service agent who comes online and say, hi, Nicholas, I know you are a gold platinum customer and you have bought, this and this in the last 3 weeks from us. Thank you for your loyalty. How can I help you? How refreshing is that conversation, right? And then Nico says, I have a problem. I bought, I don't know, a toaster from you last week and it stopped working. And they said, oh, yes, I see that you have, described the problem statement when you were chatting to our chatbot. It may be a filament problem with your toaster. I will dispatch a new one to you tomorrow. Call done. How great is that? Now, that is the customer service experience you want to get. But instead, what happens is you talk to the chatbot, then you talk to one agent, and that one agent says, oh, I'm not the toaster department. I'll pass you on to the toaster department, and then you talk to that person again and describe the whole problem again. It's not great. And this is happening because the brand doesn't have visibility into who you are as a customer. They don't have a 360-degree view. of you. They don't know what your buying behavior has been with them. They don't know how you've interacted with them before. And all of this data exists, but it exists in silos, in different systems, in different parts of the organization. And what an AI, a large language model, can do in this case is really take all of that data and summarize it in a human understandable, human readable form for the customer service agent to have that interaction with you. Now, this is just one of the use cases. It could have massive impacts on your loyalty status, upselling, cross-selling. If you're coming up for an upgrade, or if there's a relevant add-on product to recommend to you, AI can bring all of that data in an instant in front of an agent, and the agent can then not only resolve the customer's potentially negative sentiment, but also upsell, cross-sell, adding to the company's revenue growth. Now, all of this can again be done, very similar theme, by unifying good, clean data from across different channels like advertising, marketing, commerce, CRM, and then you can leverage those calculated insights. Machine learning models can produce scores. They can produce a customer health score. They can say, oh, this customer has had many bad cases, so their sentiment is probably very low. They're less likely to renew with us, and then you can act on that insight. Or they can say, this is a happy customer. This customer typically upgrades every 1 year or so, and they're happy to buy, the new and the latest and the greatest. And hence, their agent can actually use those recommendations to upsell and cross-sell. And the key KPIs you would measure in this case is obviously the CSATs, the customer satisfaction scores. You will also measure things like agent productivity. How much time is the agent actually using to close each call? And also, how much are they adding on to the pipeline of revenue? You will be able to notice if there is a reduce in customer churn and there's more brand loyalty there. And are you seeing a downward trend in your service cases? Maybe some of the self-service insights are working, or maybe your chat is AI enabled and hence being able to answer a lot more than it was when it was just a simple web chat mechanism. Okay, Nico, so how do we do this in Salesforce?
Yeah, so I can actually really relate to your use case. So it's not a toaster that I bought, but I changed my broadband last week, and I had to go through the bot, who had no clue who I was, explain to the bot what I wanted, then move on to the agent who had no clue. And I explained to the agent I wanted to change my broadband, and they asked me if I had TV with them. And I thought, I am your customer. You should know if I have TV with you. But anyway, so as you said, very, very frustrating experience. So in terms of obviously how do we do that with Salesforce, I think that there won't be any surprises as well here that we will go to. You mentioned silos, so to avoid all this silo of data, to also have data cloud. Here, what we would actually look at is, when you look at calculated insight or your AI model, is to actually create like a churn score or health score. So you can kind of measure, the likelihood of the customer leaving you or their affinity with you as well. And you can use that information to try to give them a better offer, or also to recognize how many years they've been your customer. Customer likes to be appreciated when they contact customer service. I think one thing which is also important is customer channels. So when customer wants to reach out to support, there will always be different channels that they use. And I think it's really important to let them reach out to you on the channel that matters to them. So personally, for me, it's WhatsApp. I actually love reaching out to company on WhatsApp. We actually do a lot of work in our company around WhatsApp. But usually one thing you can do to deflect cases, and Emily mentioned the bot, it's actually to have the bot first. Einstein bots are actually quite good at deflecting, let's say, the basic cases, have a little question, yeah, that should work. But as an architect, and if you've implemented bots before, they are not very smart. You have to this is the path of the customer. This is what they're going to ask. So even though they're called bots at the moment, and they're if I call Einstein bots, actually, they're not really smart. But the good news is you can actually integrate those bots with, let's say, LLM as well by doing API calls if you want. And Safe Harbor, I know it's coming, but you'll have to ask your Salesforce AEs for this, but Salesforce is actually building an AI-powered bot as well. So this is on the roadmap. So I think it's just a question of time before they actually get smarter. There's a number of features that you can actually leverage in Service Cloud as well. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but obviously Copilot just arrived for service. So your agent can actually ask questions to the Copilot in natural language in order to help him to resolve the case. Obviously, next best action is there to make recommendation. And then you have a couple of features which are used just to accelerate, help the agents. Things like case classification. The case comes in, and basically Einstein will automatically populate all the pick list, all the checkboxes based on past case data. And also case wrap up, which is the opposite. The agent is about to close the case. Normally he's got to check a lot of boxes and change a lot of pick lists. Einstein will actually pre-populate all of this just to save time. And then obviously there's article recommendation. So if you've been using Knowledge in the past, it will actually recommend a knowledge article to help the agent or to even help the customer. But now it's a lot smarter. It's not just looking for keywords. It's actually, using AI behind. And I think as well, we talked about that 360-degree view of the customer from Data Cloud. So actually from Service Cloud, you have a Data Cloud related list. So you can actually surface information which is stored in Data Cloud within Service Cloud. So if you have all your commerce data, so if, for example, the company I was talking to had all the product data into Data Cloud, they would actually know that I bought a TV service from them as well. And there's not a copy. This is actually making an API call to Data Cloud. And the other thing is the Data Cloud copy fields as well, where let's say you've created, calculated insight or a score in Data Cloud, you can actually push that score, push that data back into Service Cloud. That works also for things like loyalty points, for example. I have, 500 points. It's in Data Cloud. I can copy that data so the service agent knows about it and can see it. I've actually left Marketing Cloud here on this diagram as well, because I think it's really important to feed that service data back into Data Cloud and then leverage it into your marketing communication. For example, because I had such a bad experience recently, I would be quite upset if I would receive a marketing email around changing my broadband or do I have TV, things like this. So, feedback what you have into Service Cloud, feed it back to Data Cloud, and then use it also in your marketing campaigns. Let's move to the last use case.
Great. Okay, so this is the last use case. So this is all about sales excellence. And sales is a critical cycle, if sitting right in the center of the customer life cycle journey that I showed you. And essentially, there is a lot of cost to sell. And organizations which do it well can optimize their sales costs and still make a profit based on, the margin that they have between the cost to sell and the actual sale of the product. So it is very important to have the sales team not just efficient, operationally efficient, but also give them the right tools and the data at their hands so that they can close the deal, because deals exist, but not all deals are closed. So that is extremely important, that the close rate of the sales team is great. Now, a generative AI assistant, something like a Copilot, can really help a sales team. A Copilot can be quite conversational. The sales team can ask for, say, give me a summary of this opportunity data that sits on my Sales Cloud, etc. But also a generative AI assistant, which then actually streamlines tasks. Maybe it can extract call details from the opportunity and give a summary of how many times you've spoken to which contact with customer, how long even, how frequently, and then craft maybe personalized outreach follow-up emails in your unique style, because this is, again, generative AI we're talking about. Generative AI learns. It learns your unique style. You can give it inputs, and then it really reduces the amount of work a salesperson has to do to go have personalized outreach, either as follow-ups or as first-time outreaches, or as deal follow-ups. That can all be streamlined. Then there's the automated prospecting, which is quite a powerful feature in which you create a prospect list based on account segmentation, on whether the customer fits into that buying behavior and the buyer engagement score. How engaged is the prospect at this time? Does the prospect not pick up your calls, and have you tried, calling 5 times and never received a call back? Or is the prospect really engaged, really wants to hear what you have to say, wants to see the demos, wants a sample, so it also kind of scores on that engagement, and then it gives a prioritized prospect list essentially, so that you can focus where you have more chances of closing the deal, and reduce the time limit, by bleeding your energy into prospects which are not likely to close. And then process intelligence is quite important here, because here now operations team can build data models from internal and external data sources that they have. And these models can optimize things like win rates and what is the attrition metrics, and the insights can help you make informed decisions essentially around which one will be your key strategic accounts, where you can drive growth, where you can drive a cross-sell, upsell, which accounts not to try and renew because maybe the customer sentiment score is very low, etc. So this is, quite a powerful tool for sales excellence. And to solve this again, at the baseline of it is data. You need good data. You need things like product ownership data, like Nico said. They should have known that he doesn't have a TV from them, or they should have known which package of broadband he has, because it's their data and he's a customer on their CRM system. So, that data should have existed and should have been surfaced. Obviously, enriching these CRM objects like contacts and opportunities with the external data, with product data, with buying behaviors helps make more sense of them. Building calculated insights into AI-powered next best actions. So maybe, that there was a response from a prospect saying, I'm going on summer holidays. Can we not talk in August? Can we talk in September? You could actually use some of that to say, oh, okay, I'll schedule a follow-up. And so that I don't forget, I'll schedule a follow-up in September once the summer holidays are over. And again, it can help you identify what are the cross-sell, upsell opportunities to the same customers. And then using Copilot to generate personalized kind of sales emails and close plans would help. And the KPIs would be similar to the previous one: customer retention, seller productivity is a new one here, cross-sell, upsell revenue opportunities, and then what is the value of a customer in its lifetime. Okay.
So in terms of which Salesforce product you need to use there, obviously this is Sales Cloud. So Data Cloud still definitely required in order to surface all this data. But within Sales Cloud, there's a number of features which are available today. Some are still in beta, and I think some are about to be released as well. But first, it's really Copilot for sales. So this is the AI-powered assistant that Emily was talking about. You can now ask Copilot to retrieve information, to summarize data, and also to execute actions as well. Next best action is there again in order to guide our sales rep in terms of what they need to sell to this customer, upsell or cross-sells. And then this is where generative AI really comes in, with the ability to generate an email which is personalized. It is grounded with CRM data, so it's really relevant to the prospect who will receive this email from the sales rep. Sales summary is basically summarizing, some context around the lead, the account, and the opportunity. And this is very useful when, somebody comes new, for example, on the account. Let's say you used to be in charge of financial services, and now your colleague is. When your colleagues come in, it's really hard for him to actually, or for her, to know what's been going on. So you can summarize all your leads, accounts, and opportunities, and then get started a lot quicker as well. There's a few features here which I think were meant to be released yesterday. I haven't checked if that's the case, because now, as you know, Salesforce releases AI features when they are ready, not just every, 3 times a year. So one of them is forecast guidance, which is helping the sales rep and their manager as well to gain insight on their forecast. Close plans, which are helping them to close deal faster by saying, okay, this is, the next step for you. This is what you should be doing in order to close this deal. And then meeting follow-up, which, as the name says, automatically writes a follow-up email based on a previous conversation. Again, I've left Marketing Cloud here because I think we should feed that Sales Cloud data back into Data Cloud and then leverage it when we do some marketing communication. And finally, this is really what it looks like when you put everything together. Emily?
Yeah, so if you would have seen this slide a lot of times, and this is really just how do you, so if you imagine Salesforce as a platform, and we've really focused and emphasized on the fact that data is important, and Salesforce is selling Data Cloud, but also not just Salesforce Data Cloud, but Data Cloud on top of other data lakes like AWS or Snowflake or whatever, to work as that data layer, because that is quite important. That's how all of this AI works. And Salesforce is also talking about integrating with open models like OpenAI or Google models, and also talking about bring your own LLMs. So that is not available yet. So I sit on the partner advisory board for Salesforce for AI, and there was a lot of talk around extensibility of the platform, but essentially the key differentiator here is the Einstein trust layer. The Einstein trust layer, because as you know, if you're using open source AI, you have no control over the data sources that is being used. You have no control over the weightage and the parameters that are being input. But Salesforce, with the Einstein trust layer, takes away those risks associated with AI, like securing data retrieval, dynamic grounding, toxicity detection, reducing hallucination, data masking, zero data retention, which is extremely important in European countries, especially with GDPR, or other countries which have, strict data residency policies, etc. So this is quite important, and that I truly think is the differentiator here. And then obviously it's released some low-code builders like Einstein Copilot Studio, Prediction Builder, Flow Builders, etc., which I'm sure a lot of you are already using to sit under the typical Salesforce apps like Sales Service, Tableau, Commerce, etc. And Nico, you can talk about the extensibility.
Yeah, of course. So you briefly mentioned it, but obviously, unless you're implementing Salesforce for a very small client, Salesforce is just one piece of the whole enterprise architectures. And big companies have already invested, into data lakes, data warehouses, and even into building their own AI capabilities. Last year, I was at a healthcare and life science event, and some people were telling me, they say, well, we've actually been using AI, predictive AI, not generative AI, but predictive AI for years in healthcare. And to be honest, we don't really want to use Einstein because I've invested so much money. I want some return in investment here with the technology I already have. And I think what Salesforce has been actually quite good is to recognize this. So instead of locking you into their ecosystem and say, no, you need to import all your data into Data Cloud, you need to use our own AI, they are actually embracing openness. So customers who are already using Redshift, BigQuery, Databricks, Snowflakes can now visualize this data into Data Cloud. That means they can run calculated insight, they can create segments, they can activate those segments across different channels, ads, marketing, but even sales, Service Cloud. And this is also a zero copy feature. So when you're accessing the data, you're actually accessing the latest data. You don't have to wait for a batch to complete. So Salesforce is working on bringing your own lake, and there are more to come as well on the roadmap. And this is also valid for AI. So Einstein today, so Copilot is using OpenAI. I know at Slack they're actually using Anthropic, but obviously, if you build your model on SageMaker or Vertex, well, you can actually use it as well with your Data Cloud data. So actually, I'm working with a customer right now who's invested a lot of money with Vertex, and we are reusing some of these models with Data Cloud. And again, more are coming as well. And I think what does this actually mean for Salesforce Architect? It means we need to start having new skills as well. We don't have to be obviously Snowflake's expert or SageMaker experts, but having a basic understanding of what these systems are and what they do is actually really important as well, for the future, or in fact, even for the present now. I would like to finish our presentation with this slide, which I stole from Salesforce last week, which is how you realize value faster. So we've presented a few use cases today, but how do you really get started? First, you need Salesforce, obviously. I think that's one. We all expected it. But then start having a look at the out-of-the-box functionalities. Turn them on in a sandbox, experiment with them, understand how they can be used in the flow of work. So this is way before data cloud and all of this. Just turn them on, experiment, and then, if they're actually suited to what you do, start activating into production as well. And obviously, the next step is to enrich your CRM with more context. So this is where you're going to bring Data Cloud, integrate with overlays, and start surfacing this data in sales, service, the industry cloud as well, and activate it for marketing campaigns and ads. Again, don't be scared by Data Cloud. Don't think, oh, wow, I've got like 50 different data sources. It's going to be a one-year project. It's going to be very hard. Start small, start importing maybe your Sales Cloud data and have your commerce data coming in as well. You can just add more data source later as well. And finally, and this is the final step because actually it needs Data Cloud in order to really work well, start with Copilot. So I don't think we've scratched really the surface with Copilot because it's still new. Some of it is still in beta. So I'm actually very excited to see what we're going to build with it, what the ecosystem is going to build with it. And if I leave you with one thing today, I don't want you to forget why we work in the Salesforce ecosystem. We don't implement AI because it sounds cool or it's the latest trend, it's in fashion, it's brilliant. We implement AI as part of the business use case. Because at the end of the day, what we do is we help businesses and we help customers. So thank you very much for your time. And I will leave that slide as well to follow on Apex Hours.
Right, thank you very much. Any questions? There's one on the chat from Sunil. It says, could you please suggest some trailhead project to do some practical hands-on with Salesforce AI?
So I can take that one. To be honest, I don't know exactly on Trailhead. I know if you log into the partner community portal, you will be able to spin up your own AI-enabled org. I actually think they released recently a couple of Trailhead as well, which will give you that org. Just so you are aware, that org is only valid for 5 days. So you need to really be quick at doing all the Trailhead. Definitely happy to send you a few links as well if you leave your email.
Thanks. From Alejandra, what's your view on greenfield Salesforce implementations in AI? Wow. I can take that. So greenfield Salesforce implementations, first of all, are pretty new, right? And they only exist where there's either a legacy modernization kind of play where customers kind of, wants to migrate from a old CRM system they never upgraded, or they're moving on to the cloud from an on-prem system. And AI in that case, I think becomes a very interesting proposition because at this point, any greenfield implementation would be AI-led. Every use case, every user story, I think, would be defined with AI first in mind. And that's where the easiest way to start is what's already inbuilt in the Salesforce platform already from an AI perspective, but also what else is there in the customer's enterprise architecture landscape. Do they already have a data lake? Are they already using some sort of a, hyperscaler AI that they work with that they would want to go and connect to Salesforce? Anything else you want to add, Nico?
No, I think that makes sense. Yeah, let's go to the next question. I'm actually happy to reply to the next question. So why would a customer buy Data Cloud? It's a really good question. When they actually already invested into a data lake, what is the added advantage? I think it's the use case and the audience. Data Cloud is not a data warehouse like Snowflake, which is targeted at data analysts, and it's not a data lake like Databricks, which is targeted probably for data scientists. It's a scalable and flexible, the data lakes are scalable and flexible storage infrastructure. This is literally you put all your data in there. When you look at Data Cloud and actually the concept of customer data platform, the CDPs, there's not just Data Cloud. This is where you organize and activate customer data. And this is a small subset actually of all this data. And this data is actually organized. And it's really targeted at customer data for marketing and customer experiences. And I talk about the audience. This is for your marketers. This is for people who are probably, they don't know how to run a SQL query, or they don't know how to do proper AI because it's too technical for them. What they want is they want an easy to use interface to quickly activate some use cases. So yeah, I would say customer data platform is really there to help, marketers and hopefully probably at some point sales and service, but probably to focus. So yeah, enable some of the business use case towards customer data.
I think that's all the questions. If anybody has any other questions, you can come off mute and ask. Yeah. Okay, it looks like there are no questions.